On today's episode of You Asked, what did we learn about Dolby Vision 2? Well, quite a bit, so we're dedicating an entire episode of You Asked to it. We're talking TV model availability, including models that you may already have, what we were dead wrong about when assuming things about Dolby Vision 2 before, and some of the results and side-by-side looks at the original Dolby Vision versus the new format. And I think you're gonna be impressed. Also, sorry in advance for how many times you're gonna hear me say the phrase Dolby Vision. Welcome back to You Asked, the show where we answer your tech questions. If you've got something you want to know, send your question in to youasked@digitaltrends.com, and don't forget to tune into the show to see if your question has been selected. Now, the experience with Dolby at CES 2026 was awesome. It was my first time getting to experience Dolby Atmos in a vehicle, and some very premium vehicles, I should say, and it was spectacular. Elton John's Rocket Man and Pink Floyd's Money, perfect examples of what immersive audio can do. But what me and others that got a chance to meet with Dolby's engineers and brilliant minds behind the technology were really curious about was Dolby Vision 2 and what else we could learn as it gets ready to roll out in 2026. When it was announced, we learned a little, but naturally we wanted to learn more, especially about how it was going to work and how it was going to be better than an already really good HDR format. So let's start there. How much better is Dolby Vision than the original? In one word, significantly. And when we met with Dolby, we were able to see this across different levels of TV quality. Now, we weren't told the exact models, but the first was a 100-inch premium TV. They priced around $4,000, 5,000 dimming zones, I believe 5,000 nits of brightness. It was a stunner, so no surprise to see Dolby Vision 2 look great. Then we were shown an example of two identical models that sit at about $700, so mid to high tier range of TVs. The display on the left plays Dolby Vision and the one on the right plays the same content in Dolby Vision 2. And I really hope you can tell the difference through the video. I did my best. But in person, it's clear to see a few things. There's more punch and depth to the color. I don't like using the term saturation because to me that just reminds me of over-processing color, and this was not that. It was just more lifelike and real, especially viewing sports, which we're gonna revisit later as well. Greens and skin tones especially really stood out to me. Even gaming looked significantly better. But then what really impressed me was the difference between Dolby Vision and Dolby Vision 2 on these budget TVs. These are $200 or $300 TVs that lack full array local dimming and get overlooked by a lot of enthusiasts because on paper and in performance, they just don't stack up to what you get from mini LED TVs that cost a little bit more. But with Dolby Vision, if I didn't tell you that these were budget TVs, I don't think you'd be able to tell. And especially side by side with the other TV playing Dolby Vision content, the difference is striking. The first thing that came to mind was you. All of you that call us out for not mentioning more budget-friendly TVs in some of our buying guides. A lower tier TV capable of playing Dolby Vision 2 content becomes a much more viable option for anyone that wants great picture quality on a budget. Now, you still need access to Dolby Vision 2, which may mean paying for certain streaming services and maybe an upcharge from the streaming service to get their premium formats. But the point is, great-looking HDR content becomes a lot more available and attainable. And that's a big, increasingly rare win for the consumer. The next question, content intelligence. What does that really mean, and is this a form of AI? Straight up, no. If anything, it is the opposite of artificial intelligence, and one thing that I was completely wrong about. I think as a creator, when I see something in the realm of AI or something that sounds like it could be AI, my radar just goes off and I see red, so I gotta chill. Anyway, what is content intelligence? It really feels like a partnership with the creator. Dolby calls what they do an ecosystem, not just output formats for audio and video. And it's true, they work with studios and creators and everything in between in film and TV and music all over the world. What they pointed out during the original announcement of Dolby Vision 2 was how much more metadata they were able to use with the new format. After getting a chance to ask some questions, I prefer to look at it as a better way for the creator, the director, the cinematographer, the editor, to communicate their intent. For example, while the creator in their editing suite with specific standards for Dolby Vision hardware, editing, processing, and exporting knows how the final grade should look, does that look actually make it to the viewer who could be watching it on dozens of different TV models? Dolby Vision 2 essentially allows the creator to send more information, highlight and shadow detail, for example, with that content. And then on the TV's end, with Dolby Vision 2, all of that data is able to be interpreted and translated into what that means for that specific TV and panel. In short, the creator packages up what the film should look like, and the TV can better unpack it and keep that look intact. The same goes for motion smoothing and judder reduction, what Dolby calls authentic motion. On the creator's end, scenes are analyzed for what might cause the unwanted judder, and the amount of judder reduction applied can change in real time. From what we were shown, that means you should avoid the soap opera effect and smoothing being applied across the board unnecessarily. And instead, it's done as needed in real time. Now, if you're thinking like I was, then a lot of this may lead to the question, if Dolby Vision 2 and the creator are making all of these decisions about how the content is shown, what choice do I have as the viewer that may find it too bright or want to make changes of my own? Can I still make my own local adjustments? Well, you can, kind of. There are a few ways to do it, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end of this. One of the first things I noticed in one of the promo videos we were shown was the wording, "No complicated settings, no guesswork, just the picture that thinks for itself." That's great on paper, but some people like their complicated settings. You can make your own adjustments to brightness, motion clarity, contrast, etc., all the things that enthusiasts like to do on their TVs, but you won't get the benefits of Dolby Vision 2. It's kind of one or the other. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have any control with Dolby Vision 2. There is an intensity slider which modifies how much of the Dolby Vision 2 look you're getting. My question was, what does that change? The answer, several things at once. Adjusting the intensity up changes brightness, contrast, all the things that make Dolby Vision 2 look like Dolby Vision 2. I'm guessing there's going to be some complaints about that, but creator intent is one of the founding principles with Dolby. And there are lots of professionals in the content pipeline making all this stuff look and sound great. So I totally get wanting to make your own choices and preferences, but I look at this as more of letting the professionals do the work for me. If adjusting intensity doesn't do enough for you, then yeah, make your changes, but that's going to be a last resort for me. And finally, availability. Which TV models will support Dolby Vision 2, and are some of them that are already released capable of supporting it? To answer the last question first, yes, there are already models available that can support the new Dolby Vision format. Dolby says there were lots of moving parts to get everything to come together, from the hardware in the TVs to the content encoding and everything that happens in the process. And some of the hardware, system on chips, that go into the TVs was actually available sooner than they were ready to announce Dolby Vision 2. So there are already some TVs out there that can receive an over-the-air update and support it. Dolby didn't tell us exactly which TVs that applies to. They said they'd leave that up to the manufacturers to announce on their own. What we do know is Hisense plans to feature Dolby Vision 2 on their new 2026 RGB TVs and bring it to more mini LED TVs in an update. TCL's 2026 XQD mini LED TVs and C-Series televisions should also support it with an update. And TP Vision's Philips 2026 OLED TVs plan on it as well. Now, another thing that stood out to me with Dolby was the work that they're doing with NBC's Peacock. If you're a sports fan, surely you've noticed their exclusivity with certain season opening and playoff games. And now with NBA and MLB broadcast rights, they're really working their way into pro sports. Peacock and Dolby announced more availability of Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos with live sports, which is great for anyone that wants the same premium look they get with shows and movies applied to big-time sports events. But also, Dolby AC4 is adding a feature that allows the viewer to decide the balance between stadium noise and natural sound and the commentators. So if you want to feel like you're at the game or match with a great surround sound speaker setup, you can turn down the talking heads and boost that stadium noise. Pretty cool stuff, especially considering this will be available during live events in real time. So that's what I got. And I'm probably still forgetting something, but I was legitimately impressed by Dolby, and so were a lot of veteran media that have been in the TV and audio space a lot longer than me. If you've got questions and comments, and I know you do,
We'd love to hear them. Let us know in the comments. And we'd love to feature any of those future questions in our You Asked episode. So be sure to get those in to youasked@digitaltrends.com, and we'll see you again soon.